In three, two, one, and we're live. Yes, everybody, welcome to the 420 news. Woo woo. Beautiful Cork City. And alright, folks, we're live. What's happening out there, guys? Welcome along. It is Saturday, guys. It's a long weekend. It's the first long weekend of February here in Ireland. I don't know if there's been long weekends in February elsewhere. I'd imagine France did. When I was in France, they had a fucking long weekend nearly every weekend. Those French people love their bank holidays. Fair play to them. But yeah, for Ireland's our very first bank holiday weekend in the month of February. They're saying is it the Bridget's bank holiday weekend. Saint Bridget, that is. Shiting in a bucket. Anybody else as excited as shiting in a bucket out there? Yes, giving that eggplant a good squeeze. Welcome everybody else. I see more people pulling up at share there now as the show just gets underway. A little bit after, just after 4:20, guys. So if you did miss that all important time, don't worry. It's gonna be it's 4:22 now, and you know what to do on 4:22 because it's 4:22. Hey. But yes, we'll engage in a bowl of civil disobedience there in a couple of minutes. But just, it was a request that was put in there by somebody I met over the week, during the week, while out and about there on my travels during the week. I was down around West Cork and got to meet a lovely man, a lovely pair of men. One of who was actually a feature of a story here on the 420 News going back 2-3 weeks ago now. This is the case of the gentleman in his 60s from below in West Cork, down in just outside Dungarvan, who'd been caught with some cannabis. He was caught growing some cannabis. But yeah, I got to meet him. I have a chat with him. And yeah, it was a good opportunity there. But his son-in-law requested. He was like, "Come here, watch your show." And he was, "Do you mind doing an old synopsis there at the start of the show? Just give us a run through." So as requested, we'll give you a run through what we've lined up there for you for today's 420 News, and then we'll engage in civil disobedience. But if you're listening out there, it was an absolute pleasure to meet yourself, and that invitation is certainly open if yourself and your father-in-law ever want to come on here and share your experiences. Or the whole bloody family, you know what I mean? Don't hold back. His daughter's more than welcome on here as well to share that, because it's not just a person, you know, who was growing the cannabis affected by this. You know, the whole family at their home raided in that situation. But anyhow, as I said, that invitation is open. So as requested, a run through what we've got today on the 420 News feed. So we're going to start off having a look at some of the comments that came in before, during and after the debate on the cannabis decriminalisation bill. So we've got a couple of pieces there lined up around that. A piece from Luke Flanagan. We've got some comments there from Danny Healy-Ray. And we've got some stuff there from Ed Honor Erdogan, as well as maybe a couple of others. And then we dive on from there, and as it's a long weekend, we're going to start off with just a little bit about the Gardaí's campaign that's going on over the weekend. So just a little sneak preview on that one, guys. Be careful if you are taken to the roads at all. The Gardaí are out in force over the weekend, and they will have their Drogger 5,000 there, and they will be drug testing people. So be very careful, because we know how this thing goes. There's zero tolerance limit. You don't even have to be high to fail that test. So be careful. There's a Gardaí catch a speeding disqualified driver who tested positive for cannabis. €1.1 million worth of cannabis was seized. The man in his 40s arrested. Gardaí still looking for 100,000 worth of cannabis. The driver who failed to stop caught with cannabis and cocaine. 2 arrested after 75 grams worth of cannabis was seized. A 10.5-year sentence handed to a man over in Nottinghamshire. A Tesla driver high on cannabis with a question mark there after it. Malta police informed of illegal cannabis boat cruise. And Israel, they've launched a war on Canadian cannabis. So yes, that is the headlines that we're going to dive through for today's 420 news. But as I said, guys, a little bowl of civil disobedience to get the 420 news on the way. Shout out to Rasher if you're out there as well, Rasher. Don't know, was I supposed to give you this one back? I was up in Dublin there on Wednesday. I got to catch up with a couple of members of the Hot Box, as well as some of the members of the Cannabis Activist Alliance. Rasher being one of them, and I had travelled up there without a lighter and got this lovely grey area lighter. So if you don't know, guys, the grey area is an amazing coffee shop there over in Amsterdam. Tends to carry American genetics. At least that's kind of what it was known for back in the day before Cali became a thing. I would have known the grey area for having like the DNA genetics Reserva Privada, which would have had some American lineages there before fucking that Cali thing became a thing. So shout out to Rasher. If you want it back, dude, I'll post it up to you. Or I'll give it to you next time I see you. But lighters up on now, guys. Let's get this on the road. Oh, that tastes beautiful. That is Sea Vibes, mad scientist crossed with voodoo. So that's the genetics there of this, but the strain name Sea Vibes. Can't remember what seed company exactly that came from, but I do know it was given to me by Hunter, and it was a freebie I believe he got. Oh, excuse me. Sip of the old tea. Oh, yes. So, Shane of the Buckets in the Hot Box. Bobby O'Brien, what's happening? Someone get those guys a girl. Friendly Grower is out there as well. What's happening? The Friendly Grower and Temple Grower. What's happening, guys? Cheers all. We are out for a breaky at the moment, but want to sneak in and say hi. Working hard or hardly working? Or a bit of both. Mahon Falls is over there on Twitch as well. What's happening, Mahon Falls? Shout out to yourself and whoever else is over there on Twitch. Just someone else over there on Twitch. Make yourself known. Come on, I'll say hello. Don't be shy. Who else is out there? Mal's Chronic. What's happening? Mal's Chronic says always bad weekends to be on the road. Stay home and chill. Yeah, but definitely this weekend more than others. Mr. Wes, what's happening? Seamus Hopkins out there as well over on the Facebook says greetings, Martin. What's happening, Seamus? And yeah, that seems to be everybody coming in there on the Hot Box. Missing nobody. Parker, what's happening, Parker? Hey, that's everybody there at the moment. So shall we get a cracking then, guys? Civil disobedience done. Shout outs done. So the first headline that I have here, well, it's not really a headline. Yes, it is a headline, actually. Apologies. Thought we were going to start there on the Oireachtas page, but no, actually. We're going to start with an article featuring Luke Ming Flanagan. Had the pleasure of meeting him above there in the Dial last Wednesday, but didn't get an opportunity really to chat with him. Should have fucking made more an effort there, actually, to get a couple of people behind the camera. But to be fair, I was just being present, just enjoying the networking that was going on there. So I said I'd keep the camera away. The camera for some people can be a bit of, a bit of a barrier. It can repel people from you. But we jump in here anyway to this article featuring Luke Ming Flanagan. So boom, pot stop. Immensely stupid cannabis law delay tactic will destroy thousands of more lives and make young people criminals. And this is an article in reference to, again, the government there recently putting the decriminalisation of cannabis bill on the long finger. Effectively, they just done what they do best and kicked the can down the road, kicked the cannabis down the road. Hey, but yeah, that's pretty much what they done, man. They lined it up the night before. Unfortunately, Leo kind of, I suppose, really put us out of our misery there, saved us the what would you say, like, that's just they yeah, I don't know even how to say it. Like, yeah, he put us out of our misery sooner rather than later. Didn't have anything smart to fill in there about Leo and him spilling the beans the night before. But yeah, he did let us know the night before that there was going to be an effort made by the government to delay this by 9 months in order to allow for the Oireachtas committee to be set up around the recommendations made by the Citizens' Assembly. And that committee, over the course of the 6 months, they're going to come up with a number of recommendations for policy changes, legislative changes, which hopefully should be maybe adopted by the time 9 months come around and maybe even implemented. And maybe the debate then on cannabis decriminalisation hopefully might not be needed. Maybe this Oireachtas committee, if it is diverse enough and open-minded enough, will go a little bit more beyond, kind of what the Citizens' Assembly recommendation was. This comprehensive health-led approach where the possession remains illegal. Let's hope they go a little bit beyond this, because keeping the possession illegal and keeping the Justice Committee involved, like, it's very not in the heart of a health-led approach. It's justice-led. So anyhow, let's hope. But let's dive back into the rest of this article here, as Luke Flanagan contributed to this article here, which was published by Adam Higgins over on the Irish Sun. Ireland's cannabis laws were debated in the Dáil for the first time in over a decade this week, as the People Before Profit tried to decriminalise the possession of less than 7 grams of cannabis for personal use. And like I was talking about this last week, guys, about the weakness of this bill and that it's its potential strength. But even that, it was just too much to be asked of this current government, unfortunately. Something as little as 7 grams. There is widespread support for Dublin TD Gino Kenny's bill in order to progress the debate on Ireland's drug laws and policies. However, despite commitments to move to a more health-led approach to drugs following recommendations made by the Citizens' Assembly on Drugs, the government postponed any breakthrough by moving an amendment that will put the bill on ice for 9 months. Or as Violet said, they put a pregnancy stay on it. I thought that was fairly funny when she said that in the Dáil. The Dáil had heard the bill was a tiny step in the direction Ireland needs to be going in relation to drug policy. Introduced by Deputy Gino Kenny, the bill passed the first stage in the Dáil unopposed in November 22. But at Cabinet this week, Health Minister Stephen Donnelly got agreement for a 9-month timed amendment for the bill. And it's an awful shame. You think about this, like Stephen Donnelly, we've talked about him in the past and why he was quoted and staying as an independent. And now the guy is a Minister for Health, no longer an independent, a part of, this fucking Fine Gael Green Party cabal. He's changed his tune. And now he's happy to put a 9-month stay. He's happy to continue to criminalise the same people he said only a number of years ago shouldn't be criminalised for more. He said they shouldn't be criminalised for growing cannabis in the privacy of their own home. This bill only sought to fucking decriminalise only 7 grams. It didn't even seek to decriminalise the growing of it. He agreed with decriminalising the growing of it only back in 2016. But again, power crops, unfortunately. This guy got a taste of it, and he was more than happy to change his tune in order to kind of get his ministerial position and all that. Deputy Kenny accused the government of choosing to kick the can down the road, and MEP Luke Flanagan insists this delay tactic will destroy lives, and it will. In fairness, like it's going to again delay things, but we're delaying a conversation that really needs to be had, and it's not a conversation should we decriminalise. We have to decriminalise, and the conversation needs to move along then as to how will we regulate then the supply of drugs, because we do want to take the supply away from the illicit market there, if you will, like the unscrupulous individuals there, the fucking Hildegard Knott they're referred to within her speech in the government. You know, you do want to take the market away from these people. You do want to regulate. You do want to have a quality supply of drugs there. But you also want to have a conversation about the people who've been harmed, the lives that have already been destroyed over the decades of this war on drug users. They'd call it a war on drugs, but effectively it's a war on drug users. It was people like myself. I've had a number of criminal convictions. I've had my ability, as was referred to in the dial actually there on Wednesday as well, my ability to travel denied, my ability to get a job, hampered. But you'll never be able to undo that harm. Like I'm 30 odd now at the moment, and I've had to live with that harm for the last number of years. But anyhow, it goes on to say then within this article, he said the government's that was in regards to Luke McFlanagan. He said what the government sees as a cunning plan to delay the inevitable is in fact an act of immense stupidity. 9 more months of turning our young people into criminals, 9 more months of wasting badly stretched Garda resources, and that's something I can't fucking stress enough either, like along with Luke McFlanagan here. Our Garda resources, guys, they're badly stretched as it is, and to consider like that any guard out there at the moment is to waste any amount of time on a young fella with a bag of weed or a fucking somebody with a bag of coke or something. That means that they're not out there patrolling and keeping our sons and daughters fucking safe from the creeps that are actually out there roaming the streets. You know, the fucking weirdos who will pull your daughter down an alley and do the unthinkable. That's what you want your guards out there doing, not to be out there pulling the fucking pants off of young fellas, much like what they did to me and my friends back in the day. Like, we posed a threat to nobody. We were doing nothing to anybody. Like, all we done was, one instance, we were actually on the way down to the Vic for a game of snooker. On the way down for a game of snooker, stopped for a smoke by Sheila's hostel. And as we were up there having a smoke, 2 undercover detectives came over to us and arrested us, brought us back to the station and strip searched us. Great crack. Do you know what I mean? You go down for a game of snooker and that's what ends up happening, just because, you're hanging out with your cousin whose dad might or might not have been selling some hash, and they might not wanted some information from you, I know I was definitely asked the question, where did you get it from? We know you got it off your uncle. Just tell us you got it off your uncle and tell us where he keeps it and tell us when it'll be there. These questions were all asked of me. I was like, I'm not telling you nothing, but I didn't get nothing off my uncle. I got it off a fella down at the train station, but he's down there with dreadlocks. It's probably my fault that the cops are down there pulling people with dreadlocks. You'd always give the stereotypical thing, like, just a fucking rasta down at the train station with dreadlocks. Yeah, that's the way I get my weed off of my hash back in the day. But yeah, 9 more months of shoving their heads in the sand, says Luke McFlanagan. Almost every week, my office receives a panicked phone call from someone, usually a male and in their 20s, about how they've just been caught with a small amount of cannabis. And that's the thing there, like, it is usually a male and usually a young fella, somebody in their late teens, early 20s, getting profiled, and they get stopped and searched, and unfortunately, sometimes they get caught with stuff. And when they do, man, the cops put serious pressure on you. They'll put the shits up you. Like, if you're a student, never been in trouble before, get caught with a little bit of weed, man, they're going to fill your head with all sorts of nightmares to make you to rat whoever it is that sold you the bag of weed. And that's frightening, because they do that to the wrong person there, like, and that person, could fucking off themselves afterwards because of the fear, oh no, my life is ruined, what have I done, I'm not getting away with this, and just top themselves. Scary to think, but it is a potential a thing that could happen. Especially a person when you consider, like, if a person was to be self-medicating with cannabis, dealing with the stress of college and what have you, let's say, for example. And now all of a sudden, while trying to fucking improve the quality of their life, have this unnecessary pressure put upon them. I know they done it to me as soon as they heard I was in college, man. They were like, oh yeah, you're going to get a conviction, your jobs. I was like, lads, I don't care. Like, I wasn't fazed at all by what they were saying to me at that time. Like, but somebody else mightn't be the same. One particular individual told me he was contemplating. Man, there is actually, and I hadn't even actually got to that part. I'd only browsed through this in reading a while ago. I hadn't actually read that paragraph there, and and it actually was said to me, Luke. One particular individual told me he was contemplating killing himself because he now felt he wouldn't be able to work as a doctor, having trained for years. You know, like that. There you go. Like, and honestly, I hadn't even got to that part of that article there earlier. I knew it was going to be a good one coming for Luke McFlanagan, so I trusted him. But took the words, out of my mouth just afterwards. Medical reasons. I often wonder what happened to those who call. Many who call about being summoned to court tell me that they are self-prescribing it for medical reasons, for pain, for trauma, to help them for sleep. For those people, the government delay tactic means another 9 months of looking over their shoulder, waiting for the state-sanctioned kick in the head when the undercover guards come calling. This doesn't matter to people in government, though. Leo Varadkar, a self-proclaimed user of cannabis in the past, stated this week that those caught in possession don't actually get convicted. Man, how wrong is he? So why all the bother with changing the law? Either he's totally misinformed or he's deliberately misleading the people on this. The facts are clear. Thousands end up with a criminal conviction record every year for personal drug use. He's referring to there. And he says Leo is living in a bubble where he personally knows no one that gets convicted. Then the connected don't get convicted. And that's something we'll get to there later on in the 420 news too. But he says, you see, this law isn't about the rights or the wrongs of cannabis use. It's about leaving the Gardaí with a stick to use whenever they want to give the plebs a clip around the ear. Sure, the Gardaí even admit this themselves at the Citizens' Assembly, and they did. They openly spoke about how legislation would hamper their legislation change would hamper their ability to stop and search. A power that ultimately hinders rather than helps Gardaí. And it's true, the way in which they use it is definitely detrimental to the respect Gardaí get within certain communities. He said Luke continues here that the Gardaí need people to trust them to solve real crimes. This law corrodes that trust. And it goes on then to talk about in 2001, Portugal decriminalised the personal possession of all drugs as part of a wider shift towards a health-led approach. Possession of drugs for personal use is instead treated as an administrative offence, meaning it is no longer punishable by imprisonment and does not result in a criminal record. Drugs are, however, still confiscated, and possession may result in administrative penalties such as fines or community service. The move led to a dramatic change in the profile of the prison population, and that's an important one, guys. Our prisons at the moment, they're chock-a-block. Every one of our prisons is either in near or at or over capacity. That's shocking to be sending anybody in there for something like personal drug possession. Overcrowded prisons are dangerous. The use of cannabis, and for the wrong person potentially has some dangers, but for anybody going into a prison that's overcrowded, it is dangerous. Just no comparison there between the two. In 2001, over 40% of the sentenced Portuguese prison population were held for drug offences, plummeting to 15.7% in 2019, from way above the European average to far below. Portugal is some of the lowest usage rates in Europe among those between the ages of 15 to 34. In Ireland, cannabis use is soaring among 15 to 64-year-olds from 17.3% who had taken it in their lifetime 20 years ago to 27.1% in 2019. So over a quarter of, say, the 15 to 64-year-old population are said to have used cannabis in their lifetime, is it? That's a lot. And still the convictions keep coming. Ming added there'll be some out there reading this who say, tough luck, follow the law or pay the price. In the next 9 months, some of you will change your mind. You'll change it because your son or your daughter will face a life-changing charge, one that will disrupt their lives in the most serious way. There'll be thousands of you too. There has been every year for decades. Today the government let you down badly, and as of yet you don't even know it. The time to end the state-sponsored trauma, and I call it state-sponsored terrorism, is now and not in 9 months' time. And it is traumatic, I suppose. That's true. It's state-sponsored trauma because for me, That my reaction to the trauma is this. This is what you see right now. This is my manifestation of the trauma I've suffered from when being helped by the Gardaí under the Misuse of Drugs Act. You know, this is how I deal with my trauma. But for many, the law will already have done damage by then. Today, the government did a terrible thing. And yes, they did, you know. They did an absolutely terrible thing. What an opportunity they had. Huge opportunity. So again, most of the comments there are coming from Luke Ming Flanagan, MEP for Ireland, and one of the members of European Parliament behind the Legalise It campaign at the European level, seeking to end the prohibition of cannabis. So there you go, guys. Comments and any observations you want to make there, get them in there via the hotbox. Just flicking through some of the comments. Friendly Grower says Luke was in the dial. He was asked would he like to sit with the politicians. He said he will sit with his people. Stayed with us. Spot on. That's right. He did. He sat up in the gallery, and he spectated above there alongside all of us. And it was a pleasure to see him up there too, and to be kind of there and witness his reactions to some of that. Hey, what's happening, Podge? See Podge jumping in there as well. And Green Tea, what's happening, Green Tea, in the hot box? IRL out there as well, retracting messages. Yeah, Serenable saying here, you were helped. My ass. That's it, like, helped. That's it. It's like this Misuse of Drugs Act, like this kind of whole thing, like they're helping us. Because, like, if you think about it, like, it's a crime. So we must, like, there has to be a victim. We have to be a victim of our own crime. So therefore, they have to help us from ourselves. It's like, it's insane. It's insanity what they're doing. And you applied it, like, again, look, they done the same thing for gay relationships. They done the same thing for condoms. Man, was it not only that long ago when the church were trying to control what we watched on the TV and what we would read in books, you know, in our libraries and from our bookshops and things like that? Like, this is about power of choice, about freedom. This is so much more than just cannabis. This is like, if you belittle it to just cannabis, well, shame on you. This is so much more than actual cannabis. It's about freedom of choice, and it's about, like, not punishing people for making a choice that affects nobody but themselves. You know? Like, if again, you know, you look at gay relationships, same-sex relationships. If I was to choose to go into a same-sex relationship outside of my partner being upset, I would hurt nobody else. Maybe she'd be happy to be rid of me. But you see what I mean? Like, what by me, like, okay, like, there'll be some people out there in society, you get these fucking, what would you call them, bigots. They might see you walking down the roads holding hand with your loved one, and they'll pass a fucking rude comment or a remark or something, man. Shame of those people, like that. But again, what they're doing is wrong, and there shouldn't be laws there to support that, to support those kind of people, because they don't like seeing you walking down the road, so therefore holding hands, so therefore you shouldn't be able to do it in case you upset them people. It's the fucking exact same thing when it comes to the consumption of cannabis. Just because there's people out there who don't like the consumption of it, don't want to see it in society, don't want to smell it, we shouldn't be making fucking laws to support these bigoted people and their bigoted views. But I'm obviously biased in my position. I'll acknowledge that. Miles of Chronic says, good on you and Ming. And that was at you there, Mr. Friendly Grower. Miles of Chronic says, Martin's a powerhouse, alright. He's never stopped fighting to free the plant. Respect and much respect back to yourself as well, Miles of Chronic, man. I appreciate the kind words, and appreciate always seeing, you know, these names coming back here. If it wasn't for yourselves, guys, yeah, I don't know, would I be able to keep coming on here, guys? Yeah, you give me the support that I need to keep doing this. Podge asking the all-important question out there, guys. Anyone around Cork got a plug? 3-pin plug, Podge, or are you looking for a European travel adapter plug? Enrique Beethoven, he says, Martin, how long more you reckon we need to wait? Enrique, like, man, this is the frustrating thing. Like, was we don't need to wait at all. As we the people, like, if we could organize around us and do it properly, civil disobedience, I've long believed is our silver bullet, if you will. Like, it's the only thing I can see that's going to get this over the line. These people in power, they need to be dragged kicking and screaming into this, unfortunately. And the only way I see them with this, because we've tried, man, we've tried petitions, we've tried lobbying them, we've had bills before the government, and we've had citizens assembly, we've had justice committees, so much there in support of reform. And yet still, where is it? Like, come on, 9 months waiting now for another fucking committee. I'm sorry, but how many more reports need to be published on this before action is actually put in place? You know, come on. It's just it's so frustrating. But again, to combat citizens, it's civil disobedience by the citizens. I believe that's our answer here, guys. Like, where is it? Look at this crap. Like, look at that. That's 6 charges, okay? That's for my 6, just 6 of the actions, okay? Only 6 of the actions from 2021. That's, do you know what I mean? Statements here from guards. They've photos of the plants. So, like, all what this represents is time wasted by a Gardaí. Luke Flanagan mentioned it there a while ago in the article. As our Garda resources are precious and they're stretched incredibly thin. And look at this crap. Look at this crap, guys. I'm sorry, even if you don't consume cannabis, what this represents is your son, daughter, aunt, uncle, grandmother. I'm sorry to be picking on the female population, but obviously, they tend to be more vulnerable out there. But you guys, you get the picture. You know what I mean? Every second a guard is spending on preparing these files to be bringing meat to court for these protests. That's time they're not out there keeping you safe, which is what they're paid to do. Are they keeping you safe from me, from my protests? Come on, it's just sickening. I'm sorry, like, but anyhow, 5th of March, next court date for all of that. Yes, but anyhow. Serenable. The Pope expressing his love for me there as John Paul II said, Martin Condon, I love you. It's a continuous delay, says Podge. Man, like, and what I'm really annoyed about this one is the delay at the moment, okay? It's a very timely one because in 6 months, let's say, they might have these recommendations by this committee, the report, with changes. They might talk about it for a month or two, and guys, guess what? It's an election time again. I do believe we're due a general election here in Ireland come October, November, potentially. I believe maybe as late. I'm open to correction on this, but I believe it could be as late as February. An election could be called. Somebody said to me the other day that the 5-year term of the government is when the government formed, not when the election was last held. I thought it was 5 years from the date of the last election that the next election would have had to have been called. That was my understanding. But apparently, no, it was a 5-year term from when they actually agreed to go into government, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, but I could be wrong on that. I do believe that was around like February or March of 2020. So that means February or March 2025 is the maximum that this government could last. I'm reckoning October, November is going to be an election time, but then again, no politicians want to be out going door to door. Kind of, maybe they prefer to go door to door actually October, November rather than kind of February. Look at the way it is at the moment. This February, weather's not great. Politicians are as bad as guards. They hate being out in the rain. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge there, guys. Anybody who needs to go travelling at the long weekend. Wait for the rain clouds to open up. Keeler Halloran saying here, money, money, money. That's what it's all about. And that's true, all of these people whose lives, who are going to suffer under this kind of this waiting game now, being dragged into court. Yeah, so much money they're going to be extracted out of these people, either into the court charity boxes or as fines. You know, such a waste. Oh yeah, what's happening? GB says, howdy folks, with 5 minutes while on break. Everybody's slipping out in break, huh? Yeah, everybody's working hard on this Saturday as well. Fair play, guys. Fair play. Rather you than me. I don't see this as work, though. Some of you might say, you're working there, Martin, but no, no, no. I'm just having a crack with all you guys here in the hot box. Superior Dave says, I'm 38 and I have never voted. I'm changing that soon. Well, Dave, man, fair play to you, dude. And look, if you're in Cork North Central, there's going to be a guy on your ballot. His name is going to be Martin Condon, and he looks like this guy. And I would really appreciate your number one. I will be running on a number of issues, and central, of course, will be the issue of drug policy reform. So I'm not too sure, Dave, where you might be hailing from, dude, but as I said, Cork North Central, Martin Condon will be on the ballot paper this year, and not just the generals too, guys. I'm going to stick my hat in the ring for the local elections. So yeah. Podge says everyone should vote. They should, Podge, to be fair. When you look at previous elections, quite often or not, the winner of that election actually is the non-vote. The non-vote is normally bigger than the actual vote cast sometimes. Not all the time, but a lot of the times. None of the top 5 are worth voting for, says Podge. And guys, that's something to remember there as well. As I mentioned, there's a local guy, Martin Condon, going throwing his name, and this guy is some randomer out of nowhere, just came in, had an issue close to his heart, and like Podge, felt the very same. There was nobody really there who was pushing the issue that felt important to him. So he put his name in there because, like that guy Martin, he felt, there's other people out there who feel like me, and maybe none of them want to put their name in there. And they might vote for me, or for Martin. All right, it's out of the bag, guys. I am Martin Condon. But guys, if there's nobody in your area worth voting for, do strongly consider sticking your own name in, if at all, just to have that issue put on the agenda. If it's an issue that it really is important to you guys, do strongly consider it. To run in the general election, you need to get 30 people from your locality, from your constituency, who are registered to vote. To sign a nomination paper at a local Garda station. Has to be witnessed by a guard with an ID. Excuse me. And with 30 of those nominations, you then go to your local sheriff, and you submit them, and then you're on the ballot for free. It costs you nothing to run. You don't need to invest anything in posters. In fact, I would endorse, if you do consider putting your name on a ballot paper, that you would run under a poster-free campaign. That's going to be a campaign I run behind. I don't believe in these posters on the fucking flagpoles. It's absolutely nonsense. Popularity contests, who's seen the most and all of that. What do you actually know about this guy, except he looks great there in his suit and he can smile, and he's a Fine Gael or he's a Sinn Féin. Like, it's no, like, I there's no substance to any of that stuff. Like, so I don't endorse any of that postery stuff. So I don't spend and waste any money on that. Plus, it's bad for the environment. And there's some people out there across social media on Poster Free campaign, I think is the name of the their page on X and Facebook and stuff, and they'll promote anybody who runs on a Poster Free campaign. So it's a great way just to get yourself out there across social media, is having a poster-free campaign. But Jesus, how'd you get 30 people when you go to the guard station, says Dave. And for me, man, it just showed that the belief those people had in me, Dave, And that was very empowering to me as well. To have those people go there, and it really just put a bit more. It was incredibly important, but it just made it all that more important to me now, because those people, like 30 people, went to the guard station, signed that piece of paper in front of a guard, and nominated me to run in the election. Uh, and that was very empowering. But yeah, it was difficult as well. Yes. Kingfisher David, he says, I'll be voting for you, Martin Hope, all as well. But you, man, nice one, Kingfisher Dave. Appreciate that, my man. No complaints here anyway. The tea is nice and hot here, and yeah, nice and sweet from the honey as well. So I'm a happy boy today. Civil disobedience ball's going down well as well. But anyhow, guys, geez, we're waffling on here, and enjoying the chats with you all there coming in on the hot box. And do keep the comments coming in, keep engaging with each other there as well as we dive back into it. I'd give a shout out to Pamela Barnes out there as well. What's happening, Pamela? Nice to see you in the hot box. Says, grow our own. Yes, indeed, grow our own. Pamela, did you ever hear anything yourself from our act of civil disobedience above there in Arklow? Was there ever anything came your way, I wonder? Because obviously I flashed the papers there not too long ago. 6 charges of cultivation there I'll be facing. But it'd be interesting to know if, say, yourself and I was mentioning Kenny there the last day as well, if they were to ever charge you. It'd be interesting if they did. I don't think they would. I really don't. I think they just kind of had no choice but to go for me, and above there in Arklow there's probably a different higher ups, and they're like, nah, don't go after them. Send one down there for Martin though. Nah, they probably won't send one for me either, just because you were involved there maybe on that day. Man Falls says, I'd be smoking, I mean participate in civil disobedience anyway. Go on, good man Falls. Yeah, and Podge saying here that the election will delay it more if the election comes and looms, you know. And as we roll on up to it, then they'll be kind of saying, yeah, we can't change the legislation just yet because there's an election so close or something. We have to consider things, you know. They'll come up with some BS excuse, all right, to delay it. Podge 22 says, yeah, but the pigs would rather go catch drug people because it's easier work and lots of paperwork and overtime. Yep. Seamus Hopkins says, we need more people like you, Martin. And Seamus, I've been saying this as well. I wish we could just get more people like we had Pamela and we had Kenny that time, and a couple of others as well that would have engaged in civil disobedience and in a public display with myself over the course. But like when we were in Phoenix Park that day, we really should have capitalised off of the power that was displayed there by the protesters that day. And above in Phoenix Park, like Greenbeard, you might remember this. Greenbeard's probably gone back to work, but I can remember at one point, like sitting down, and Greenbeard was passing weed between himself and I can't remember who was next to him. Like, and I was walking around with my camera, and there was a cop walking past, just looking at him. Greenbeard has a joint in front of him, just started putting his weed into it, and was giving a bag of weed or something, or was it a grinder over to somebody else to make a joint for themselves. And like the cop was just walking by, no bothers at all, completely unfazed by it, like didn't interfere at all, interfered with nobody on that day. But it really went to show the power that we had as protesters that day. And yeah, and just, yeah, it's gutted that we didn't really capitalise on that after kind of seeing it, you know. There was kind of, it was there for the taking really for us. Like, as I said, these cops don't want to be doing this. Like, you know, you see this crap, like, what's that, like it's about 100 pages, let's say. 100 pages for just 6 charges. Multiply that by 1,000. Like, you know, imagine you had 1,000 people, which is what we had there in the Phoenix Park. Guys, they would, the system would break. It would break. Pamela says here, nope, nothing. They know where I live. They know we have the license and they have a copy in the station. Yeah, you see, Pamela, I don't think they will either. I really don't. I think the cops down here in the city, they had no choice but to go after me because there was just so many of them. But above there, it was an airglow above there in the little well it was that we left to plant that day. But yeah, I don't think they'll do anything about that one. There's a couple of others they've not done stuff about it as well. The ones I've went into like the guard station with, there's a couple of others I'm still waiting on charges for. But anyhow, so as we mentioned there earlier, guys, there was the decriminalisation of cannabis bill introduced back into the dial, read for the second time on Wednesday. So I'm going to pop up on screen the outcome of the vote on the amendment to the bill, in which, if accepted, it was going to delay it by 9 months. So this is the amendment, and it was carried by 74 votes and 56 against. So there were 74 votes there to postpone the bill for 9 months. And you can have a look at a detailed list of all of those who voted to continue, again, the needless suffering of many out there under this model of cannabis prohibition, those who didn't even want to discuss the possible decriminalisation of up to 7 grams of cannabis. 74 of them. And yes, you will see in this list the Green Party as well, who remained completely absent from the debate in the dial on Wednesday, because they didn't want to show their face, because they know the government had them by the balls. As I said over there on X, they had their dignity. They didn't just have their tongue, they had their dignity, so they couldn't even show their face in the dial for this debate. Because the Green Party support the decriminalisation of cannabis, but again, power corrupts. They had to vote against it because the government said so. And here you see the people who voted no to have this bill debated and to deal with the issue now, including Mary Lou McDonald. All the Sinn Féin voted in favour of dealing with this issue, which would have advanced the decriminalisation of cannabis, while some of Sinn Féin expressed some concerning views there. At least they did vote against the government, I suppose, which is their job, I suppose, as in opposition. But yeah, if I can, we jump and have a look at when this was looked at 10 years ago, because mentioned there earlier, Luke Flanagan, pictured here up on screen, he had a bill up before the government, and this bill was back before the government on the 5th of November 2013. And it says here, the following motion was moved by Deputy Luke Flanagan on Tuesday, 5th of November 2013. The Dáil Éireann calls on the government to introduce legislation to regulate the cultivation, sale and possession of cannabis and cannabis products in Ireland. And it says here then, the debate resumed on amendment number 1. So this was already put forward to the government. And again, the government put forward an amendment, and their amendment was to delete all the words after Dáil Éireann. So effectively what it says up here, like that Dáil Éireann, and then delete everything after that. Calls on the government to introduce legislation to regulate the cultivation and sale and possession of cannabis and cannabis products in Ireland. And he amended it to include, instead of that, it acknowledges that the cultivation and sale and possession of cannabis and cannabis products in Ireland is regulated under the Misuse of Drugs Act 1977 and 1984. It recognises the body of clinical evidence which demonstrates that cannabis misuse is detrimental to health, notes that the significant physical and mental health risks associated with long-term or heavy use of cannabis and usage in young people, recognises that the legislation of cannabis, which is known to be a gateway drug, would potentially lead to increased levels of experimentation with drugs by young people. Notes that cannabis is subject to international controls under in the 1961 United Nations Single Convention on Narcotic Drugs and the 1971 United Nations Convention on Psychotropic Substances, and Ireland is a party to these international conventions. Recognises that leniency in cannabis control could endanger the overall international effort against drugs. This is some joke. Supports the government in its determination to maintain strict legal controls on cannabis and cannabis products in Ireland. And look how well that fared out from since then. You look how well that fared out from him. So that was the amendment that was put forward back then. And the outcome on that amendment was there was 112 votes in favour and 8 against. You know, was there any abstentions? No abstentions back then. Was there any small dial back then? Yeah, 122 of them, or 120 of them, sorry, and 112 against, 8 for. Those for Richard Boyd Barrett, Joan Collins, Claire Daly, Luke Ming Flanagan, Joe Higgins, Catherine Murphy, Thomas Pringle, and Mick Wallace. And if you look today, you actually see some of those names still there today. You see not Mick Wallace, apologies, he's over in he's an MEP. You see Thomas Pringle, Richard Boyd Barrett. Who else was there? Joan Collins, maybe? Was Joan Collins there? Collins Joan, yeah. Joe Higgins, Cecil there. Higgins Joe. No, Joe Higgins gone. Yeah, but you get the picture. Major change. Big change there. Big shift into how it was received. Back then it was just a no. Straight up a no. Oh no, cannabis is already regulated and F you Ming. And then you look at today and it wasn't an FU to Gino Kenny. It was more like, you know, we're going to deal with it but on our terms and in our time. But it wasn't an FU to Gino. It was a straight up FU. You know, they were a bit more polite with their FU. They done an Ali G on it, you know. They were like, yeah, Gino, 9 months, bud. 9 months. Pricks. Seamus Hopkins says we were all brainwashed from birth. Green Party, no balls, don't care anymore. Yeah, no, they're not a Green Party. Like they're anything but a Green Party. You know, they're a shame that they're named Green. You know, considering. Come on, guys, they could have shifted this. Like they could have just said F you to the government. Let's call an election now. But we're going to vote on this, and look, if the government falls, so be it. But no, well, what are they prolonging this for? An election's around the corner. Like, if the Greens, like, kind of said F you to the government right now, there was some hope that maybe some of them could have maybe went on and got voted back in next time. But, guys, if you support the Green Party last election, have a very strong think about voting Green again next time around. Look at the state of the crap they've introduced there 2 days ago, man, with these plastic bloody bottles. I'm not even going to get started on them. I'm not even going to go there, like, but Jesus, not a Green Party. Fucking, all they do is tax things, like, do you know what I mean? I use just as much coal now as what I did a couple of years ago. I just pay fucking through the nose for it. Do you know what I mean? A bit more conscious of it because of the fact it's hurting you in the pocket, like, but look, I still have to heat my home and keep my family warm just as much now as I did then. It's like, come on, Green Party, like. Idiots. But anyhow, speaking of idiots, and I'm not referencing that the next person that's going to pop up on screen is an idiot at all, but I might be. Here's this next guy. And this next guy, his name is Danny Healy-Rae, and this is from the debate on Wednesday in Dáil Éireann. And Danny Healy-Rae is an elected TD from Kerry. He's an independent TD as well. And he's a pub owner, guys. Keep this in mind as well. This guy is a pub owner during his speech.
Deputy Away. Thank you, Cahill. I'm glad to get the opportunity to say a few words on this. And I welcome the debate, but sadly I can't support this motion here today because I worry so much about the evidence of drugs and what it's doing to youngsters, lovely young boys and girls, and the way families are broke up and people finish up in bad health. And we can see that it has been on the rise for nearly 2 decades now, and it's the stepping stone to have the drugs. While they tell you, some of the people in favour that it's not a serious or bad drug in itself, but it's the gateway and the stepping stone to have the drugs. And then I have heard the medical profession saying that there are more people affected adversely by cannabis than any other drug, because there's more of it being used. And sure, you, Deputy Ring, as me in Kerry, in Mayo and everywhere, it's on the rise in every little town and hamlet and parish, and we see the devastation that it's creating. I can't support this for that reason, because I see what's involved and know what it is with bringing up children, and seeing my children bringing up children, what's involved and what's invested in their lives. And
like where the consumption of cannabis is very much more present, and like alcohol is like more secondary now almost in some of these movies, like and young people, they're going to take the education from places like that, where they're feeling a bit more trusting in terms of like some of the online sources they might be getting from some of the social media, some of the media they consume, do you know. Like that song by Snoop and Wiz Khalifa, you know. So we get drunk, you know. And my kids were singing that stuff, like, you know, the young kids singing that stuff. So we get high. You know, it's a good song too. It's catchy. But it's funny, you know what I mean. Your man there, Mr. It's catchy. But it's funny, you know what I mean. Your man there, Mr. Healy Ray. And he on about like the devastation and the destruction caused by it. But again, like, you know, your man has a pub, and again, just it's effects then that can have, you know, people getting drunk and feeling over entitled. Then, you know, power going to their head, jumping to the top of the line, get pulled through it, and instead of fucking just accepting it and going to the back of the line, getting ready with your man and locked him in a headlock. And that wasn't good enough. Then when they went up the road, they boxed the head off him. They hit him a punch. It says they cracked him anyway. I don't know how many times they punched him, like, but they broke your man's nose and left him with some facial injuries. And then what did they get for it? They got a suspended sentence. The boys got a suspended sentence. Was it a 3-month suspended sentence, I think? And the boys appealed it, and they lost the appeal, but they didn't actually get sent to prison even after losing the appeal. There it is, Kerry County Councillor Jackie Healy-Ray loses appeal against convictions for chipper van assault. The judge imposed a 5-month sentence, suspended for 6 months for the assault on Main Street, Kenmare, and a concurrent 3-month sentence suspended for 6 months for the assault by the mobile chip van. So there, like, your man assaulted a person not once but twice. As I said, he locked him in a headlock once. So like degraded your man, basically embarrassing him in front of his girlfriend too. And all your man had said to him was like, "Come here, lads, we're queuing up here, lad. Get to the back of the queue, like, pretty much, like." And the lad's drunk, as they do. But the Healy Race, you know, sure, just a bit of argy-bargy while the lads are drunk. Sure, like, they're good lads. They're good lads. There's just a bit of drink on board, like, and they get a bit rowdy. And sure, they can all talk it off. But geez, that cannabis. Jesus, that cannabis. Sure, you can't even be self-medicating now with cannabis and experience a psychotic break. And then, sure, oh yeah, it was the cannabis that done it. Nothing about the fact that the person might have been self-medicating there in the first place. But anyhow. Oh, he was rightly called out though by Gino. And I think I have a video here of Gino Kenny up lined up. Boom, there we go.
Probably a little bit more kind of progressive than the last debate we had in here about 11 years ago in relation to kind of similar issue. Some of the views I completely disagree with. The issue around which always really annoyed me is that cannabis is a gateway to harder drugs. Absolute rubbish. Absolute rubbish. Gateway to harder drugs, which we're talking about in this instance, heroin, is not cannabis. It's poverty, alienation, and serious trauma. And alcohol, has a lot to answer for in this country. It's a legal drug. I can walk out, literally out them 2 doors and into 2 bars that serve alcohol. And they will serve alcohol as much as I want. Alcohol kills 4 people a day in this country. 5% of all deaths. Now, if we go down the road of making alcohol illegal, if you think the drug wars were bad, wait till the alcohol wars come in. You'll wait and see what it will put the drugs wars into the halfpenny place. I find it incredible by Deputy Healy-Rae that he says that, that cannabis is a gateway drug. He owns a pub, right? He owns a pub, right? Here, that's, that is a substance. It's a psychoactive substance that, most people do drink in this country. Most people don't have problematic use. But there are people that have problematic use with alcohol and they die. And there's, a terrible issue around that.
So there you go. That was Gino calling him out. And whoops. Just X out of this there now before autoplay kicks in. Boom. There we go. Excellent. Sorry, no. Hoi. Green Tea saying here, there was an article a couple of years ago saying there's a TD with a 25k dial bar tab who is functional alcoholic. I put money on it being this Healy-Rae. It's funny you bring up that about the dial tab, but there's a number of TDs over the years, who've vacated, as in they didn't get in the next election, maybe didn't even run in the next election, but they left massive bar tabs behind them, unpaid. It's funny. But I don't know, did they ever get that money? Is it just written off as a bad debt or what? But it's hilarious. These guys, they get to bring people in to the dial, wine them and dine them. And meanwhile, when it comes to the debate on cannabis, the decriminalisation, it's just 7 grams. No, we can't be doing that. Meanwhile, it's right, boys, break time. Who's drinkies? Who's going out for drink? And subsidised as well by the taxpayer, might I add. Friendly Grower says earlier on said about Garda and docs on drugs. Spot on, and it's all walks of life, every profession. There's a reason why the Gardaí object all the time to random drug testing of the Garda force. There's come on, do you want to guess out there what that reason is? I don't think you need to guess. I think it's very fucking obvious. But yes, the Gardaí object all the time to random drug testing of the force. But meanwhile, they need to retain powers over me or you to stop and search us in case we might be carrying a little bit of the ganja. Do you know? Or Iran also said if people were dying, if cattle were dying at the rate that drug users are dying in this country, there'd be a national inquiry into it. And there'd be an immediate action on the necessary measures to be put in place to remedy it. But because it's drug users' lives, they don't matter. So, Aid on or aired on the money on that one. And in saying that, actually, boom, there's Aid on or aired on. There was an article went up there on labour.ie. So that's up on screen there now. Just Labour Justice spokesperson Aaron or Erdogan TD was speaking today on the dial on the misuse of drugs, Cannabis Regulation Bill 2022. And again, keep in mind, 2022, you know what I mean? They put a 9 month stay on it, it's been there since 2022. But if you want to read this, guys, he goes to say that the prevailing policy of criminalisation disproportionately impacts the poor and less powerful. It dehumanises and denigrates those grappling with addiction. We must recognise that addiction is a complex issue, not a moral failing. The Conservative Coalition's war on drugs is making some wealthy while leaving countless individuals in despair, highlighting a dire misunderstanding of addiction's nature. It's high time we shift our focus. The costly prosecution of individuals for personal drug use not only fails, but often exacerbates the harm. Decriminalisation is an opportunity allowing the Gardaí to concentrate on tackling drug dealers and criminal gangs that perpetuate the cycle of harm. People from all walks of life use drugs, yet it is those with power who find themselves entangled in the criminal justice system. It's those without power who find themselves entangled in the criminal justice system. This disparity is a stark reminder of the inequality perpetuated by the current drug policies. Labour stands firmly in support of the misuse of drugs. Cannabis Regulation Bill 2022, we are calling for a community-based, health-led alternative that targets the adverse health, social and economic consequences of drug use. This approach prioritises harm reduction services, addressing issues like disease transmission and overdoses. Our commitment extends to the decriminalisation of cannabis. It is a crucial step towards recognising the need for a nuanced and effective drug policy. It is time for Ireland to catch up with evolving global perspectives on drug use, moving beyond punitive measures towards comprehensive solutions. It is time for a progressive approach that reflects the realities of drug use and focuses on creating a healthier and more equitable society. Because I, for one, certainly don't feel equal within today's society anyway. Our current approach to drugs is certainly not reflective of the reality of the nature of my drug use. Just to put it there, just for me speaking personally, for myself as an individual, agree, disagree, let me know in the hot box, guys. Is that a similar thing? Do you feel equal in today's society? Do you feel like you're treated fairly in today's society? Mr. Wes asking, I wonder how common it is for a House of Parliament to have a pub in them. Yeah, I'd say it's fairly common. Again, I think I had it over here, Leo drinking. There, boom. That's our Prime Minister with the Prime Minister of Belgium. They're over in a pub over there. This was taken, I believe, in Brussels or somewhere. Casa de Strogas, you out there, my man? Casa de Strogas done a bit of an internship over there, I believe, in around the UN and stuff like that. Maybe is there how common are bars in around these places? But yeah, that's just hypocrisy of it all, man. That song comes to mind, by the streets, the irony of it all. That would be an ecumenical matter, Dave. Yes. So yeah, that's pretty much all on the cannabis decriminalisation bill that I have there. Do we drive on from there? Is there anything else to be said on that particular that hasn't been said? No, we got to the Labour speech. Thomas Pringle, an article there by Thomas Pringle. We'll pop this up on screen. Just give credit where credit's due. As I said, Thomas Pringle, one of those who actually voted to have the bill supported. I believe he's an independent TD from above there in Donegal. And he took part in this article on the Irish Independent, and he says cannabis possession offence is nonsensical and enforcement is a waste of Garda time, claims Donegal TD. And Deputy Thomas Pringle says he fully supports the bill to decriminalise the possession of small amounts of cannabis for personal use. And you can go over there and give this article a read if you'd like in its entirety. But the essence of it is he was supporting and endorsing Deputy Gino Kenny's bill there, and kind of criticising the government for really failing on the opportunity to be progressive and pass what is a very, very modest bill seeking to decriminalise 7 grams of cannabis herb and 2.5 grams of cannabis resin. So again, if you want to get over there and read this article, it's over there on the Irish Independent. The headline: Cannabis possession offence is nonsensical and enforcement a waste of Garda time, claims Donegal TD, featuring Deputy Thomas Pringle. So there you go. So yeah, that's pretty much all then on that bill. Pretty much.